Welcome to Together for Good, brought to you by Baptist Health Foundation of San Antonio. Together for Good exists to recognize and uplift the many people working together for the good of San Antonio and the surrounding communities. Now here's the host of Together for Good, Cody Knowlton.
Okay, thanks, Katie. Hello, and welcome back, everybody, to Together for Good. This show is being brought to you by Baptist Health Foundation of San Antonio as a part of our mission to honor our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and our Baptist heritage by encouraging and funding health-related programs at area nonprofits and churches. Through Together for Good, we connect our audience to the great work these organizations do in our community. Chronic homelessness and severe mental illness remain deeply connected challenges in communities across the country, including here in San Antonio. National estimates show that roughly 25% of people experiencing homelessness are living with a serious mental illness, and many individuals also struggle with untreated substance abuse disorders or chronic medical conditions. Without stable housing, consistent health care, or long-term support, it can become incredibly difficult for people to navigate treatment, maintain employment, or regain stability in their daily life. Organizations here in San Antonio are increasingly recognizing that lasting solutions require not only housing assistance, but mental health care and relationship building as well. Well, today we're joined by Dawn White-Fosdick, a longtime leader in San Antonio's work with the unhoused and the president and CEO of Christian Assistance Ministry, better known as CAM. Dawn has 16 years helping guide CAM's efforts to serve vulnerable neighbors throughout San Antonio, including innovative outreach initiatives focused on individuals experiencing chronic homelessness and serious mental illness. She joins us today to talk about the challenges facing this population and the work being done through a new program called Compassion Care to meet people where they are with compassion and support. So, Dawn, it's just a treat to visit with you on Together for Good today. You and I have known each other since I came here many years ago to run the foundation. You're really one of the remaining executive directors that I remember back at the beginning of that are still doing what they're doing and doing a great job at it. So,
well, thank you.
I'm grateful for all you do at CAM. And I drive right by your organization every Sunday because my church is down there. I think about you and pray for you often. So, so before we jump into kind of our specific program, tell us more about Christian Assistance Ministry, CAM, and kind of where you're located and what you do there.
Sure. So CAM is almost a 50-year-old nonprofit. This is our 49th year. It was founded in 1977 by 9 downtown churches to be a faith-based approach to providing resources and services to people in crisis. Our mission is to share the love of Christ by providing immediate assistance and encouragement to people in crisis. And our clients typically could be someone who just has a short-term problem. And if you could just help them pay a bill or get them some groceries, they're going to be okay. They're working. They've just had a limited crisis. Some have chronic crisis due to poverty, health care, mental health care, all sorts of issues. And then some are unhoused. We do serve people that do have a house. I always want to make that clear. In fact, that's probably the largest number of clients, those people that just need a little help, a hand up sort of. But then we do serve a large population of the unhoused. We are located downtown at 281 in McCullough, and then we have a north side location that's in the parking lot of University Methodist Church, kind of near Clark High School, that serves a large population of families and working poor that live in that area. We do the same thing at both locations.
Okay. And y'all are located next to Grace Lutheran Church and First Presbyterians across the street.
Yes. And a lot of the downtown churches that people are familiar with, like First Baptist, St. Mark's, they're all original founding partners of CAM. And now we have close to 100 churches that support our effort. I love to really focus on that because it really demonstrates to community that the body of Christ is caring for people in our community. And we're often doing it with the government, even though we are not government funded. So we're really demonstrating that testimony.
Awesome. Well, Dawn, can you help listeners understand the connection between chronic homelessness and untreated mental illness?
Yes. And I do want to say one thing about the homeless. There's populations of them, and we really are talking about the chronically homeless. This is not someone who just lost their job, a mom and a dad who might be staying at Haven for Hope or SAM Ministries. These are people that have been stuck on the streets for a long time, and largely that probably is due to some kind of untreated mental health issue. Mm-hmm. And so while we see them on the street asking for food, or they look disheveled sometimes, they're the ones that are the most visible, but they're not the largest population in our community, because there are plenty of them that have shelter and they're working towards getting housing. So the unsheltered are often struggling with mental health issues. And I want to make it clear, we're talking about really psychiatric, psychosis type mental health issues. Not to say that depression isn't serious, and some different types of mental health issues aren't serious. They are, but we're really focused on those who are delusional, seeing things in a really strong psychosis. So as you can imagine, how is that person going to have a job or be able to take care of themselves physically and mentally?
Tell us more about the barriers that stand between unhoused folks and mental health treatment.
Sure. That's a great question, because like you said, I've been here for 16 years, and I've seen and known some of my same clients who I grow to love and know in a way that a regular citizen wouldn't love and know. And some people might be afraid of them. And so I actually called our chief mental health officer, because I'm a part of a partnership where we work on these issues all the time. And I said to her, I just must not understand the system, because if I could understand it better, I could help my clients get treatment at the ones that are supposed to support them. I won't say any names, but various types of nonprofits and county organizations that provide mental health care. And finally, she just looked back at me and she said, Dawn, none of your clients can utilize the system, because that system requires them to be able to make an appointment, remember their appointment, put it on a written calendar or on a phone, get in a car or a bus and drive to the appointment, sit in a waiting room for 2 or 3 hours, meet with a psychiatrist, then fill their prescription, then take their medication daily, have to go pick up that prescription, notice if it's working. And you can have problems with these meds too.
Side effects.
Yes,
Yep.
that you need. And then they're not going to be able to see the psychiatrist. They'll try to call over and over, and then they might get an appointment 6 to 8 weeks later, if that. And once again, she just said they will not be able to utilize the system. And that is why you are seeing these. And since she said back to me, so you just have to do it on your campus yourself. And I had that in my mind. I don't know why. And when she said that, I just said, okay, that's what we're going to do.
Well, that kind of leads us into talking about Compassion for Care, which, as I understand it, it focuses on bringing psychiatric care directly to those who are coming to the CAM campus. So, how does that work? Well,
I want to mention the CAM campus and how our model behind it. So there's anywhere from 300 to 400 people that are chronically homeless that show up on our campus every single day. And I have outreach workers with lived experience. That means they're staff who've been homeless themselves and have relationships with the clients, and they're super low barrier services. So they use the restroom. We have porta potties set up. They get a shower. They get a free sack lunch. They have a free mail service. And so they're showing up here every day. And I thought to myself, well, what would it look like if when they show up every day that we offered this kind of a psychiatric care, but not just a one-time an appointment. They don't even have to make an appointment. We can literally say, would you like to talk to a psychiatrist today? And right then go talk to somebody. And so I had to think about who I would bring on campus. We actually brought a psychiatric practice because I'm not a psychiatrist, and someone who's going to manage the meds and can fill a prescription. And then we had to think about, okay, if we do that, then we'll have to have the meds delivered. And then we'll have to have a place that we keep the meds, because we can't let somebody who's just on the streets wander around with a bottle of pills for 30 days. And they're not dangerous pills. They're not something that's exciting or somebody would want to take or sell. But they wouldn't be able to keep up with those. And while they're not stabilized, they might not even hardly remember to. So we kind of said, we're going to make a place where people come every single day anyway, and create a way for them to get a diagnosis, meet with a psychiatrist, start taking medication, where they can tell us whether it's bothering them or not. Because sometimes they'll say things like, this is making me drowsy, so I'm not going to take it because it's dangerous for me to be on the streets and fall asleep during the day. And then we can say, okay, that's okay. Let's work on something else for you. But since we're seeing them every day, we can do that. And then ultimately, especially with psychiatric care with schizophrenia, bipolar schizoaffective disorder, if we can get them on a long-acting injectable, it means that they only have to take one shot for 30 days. And it stabilizes them in a way that you just cannot imagine. It treats their paranoia, their hallucinations, a lot of the bad effects of their mental health disorder.
What results have you seen come out of that? Folks
Sure.
that were chronic, that are, their life has changed.
Yeah. So the whole idea behind all of this is like we have to start way down the line of what the problem is to even get to what our solution, because our solution is we want somebody to be help seeking, to be willing to go into shelter, to begin working on being housed and lived off the streets. And so our goal is to get them stabilized enough to start thinking that that's possible. And so the first achievement is just getting somebody to come and do it daily and weekly. In fact, one of my outreach workers' jobs is every Monday and Wednesday is they get a list of clients we haven't seen in a few days, and they try to go find them and remind them, you were doing that program. You were doing well. Would you like to come? So that's one goal, just getting somebody to do medication adherence, which is hard for people who are even housed to do that. We're not good at that in general. In fact, if we start feeling better, we quit taking our medicine.
Right.
So that's normal for our clients, but it's even worse for someone living on the street. So that's a great achievement. Then after that, we can start talking to them about some of their options. Most need some kind of a rehab because they've been self-medicating. So now we're trying to figure out, were they in psychosis because they have a real psychiatric disorder, or was that because of drugs? And so we have about 25 in rehab that we have to work intensely with the rehab on daily because they're still getting their psychiatric treatment with us. The rehabs often will not take someone who is in has schizophrenia and things like that because it's very hard for them to deal with those co-diagnoses. And so we say, we'll help them to be able to stay. We know the client if you'll work with us. And so we have about 20 in rehab. We've had about 5 or 6 actually get housed and an additional 5 that have had family reunification and jobs. So, ultimately there is a possibility that someone could come out of it and be able to do have a higher quality of life. And I always want to share, it may not be that they have a full-time job and what you think is a higher quality of life. A higher quality of life for some of our clients for the rest of their life may be that they have to live in some kind of permanent supportive housing, but that they still do have a place to sleep at night and they have a purpose.
Well, it gives them hope where they've not had any hope.
Absolutely.
Dawn, why is relationship building such a critical piece of working with chronically homeless individuals?
Well, and I didn't even mention this when I talk about the psychiatry component, that may be actually an issue that is chemical. Your body is doing this to you. But a lot of our chronically homeless also have trauma that's occurred on the streets, trauma that's occurred with their families, with abuse, spousal abuse and things like that. And so they already have just created the space where they're protecting themselves. And rightfully so. They don't have a lot of trust. And so providing what we call low barrier items, like you don't have to do anything. You can even tell me your name is Mickey Mouse, and I'm still going to give you a sack lunch. You can be rude to me. Because our goal is to show them that we're going to love them through this so that they can start asking for help and trust that we're going to be there for them and not cause them harm or ask them to do something that would be too hard.
Hey, folks, if you're listening to us today, this is Together for Good, and I'm your host, Cody Knowlton, and today we're visiting with Dawn White-Fosdick. She is the president and CEO of Christian Assistance Ministry, or CAM, and we've been discussing Compassion Care, among many things, and it is, in fact, a innovative program working to connect chronically homeless individuals with mental health treatment and long-term pathways towards stability. Dawn, what does collaboration in this work look like? I know you've mentioned the psychiatric clinic that is helping you, but who are the players that are kind of helping you with all this?
Sure, and it's grown. The police officers are actually our partners because they're the ones who often have to interact with clients. So when we told them about this, previous to this, we often had to call them for what's called an emergency detention. And the only way we could get psychiatric care for our street level clients in psychosis was to get them emergency detained a minimum of 9 times so that we could get them committed. As you can imagine, that is a really violent and scary situation. So educating the police, having them work with us, getting them on board with this whole idea has been really exciting, and viewing this as a partnership that we're all wanting the clients to have better and do better because it's good for our citizens, our community, our neighbors. It's good for the individual. We do have the psychiatric nurse practitioner clinic that supports us. We do pay them for that. So this isn't a voluntary thing. And we wanted to pay them because we want to make sure that we're creating a program that's replicable and that we have the same people coming each week and not just random volunteers. We do partner with another street med group called Battling Minds. They provide therapy at a street level. And so we've noticed some of our clients now are helped by the medicine, but they actually need some therapy. So we've been bringing them along. And then we partner with our other community organizations because we want to be able to pass the client along. We are not the destination.
Right.
We are the access to the real destination. So other community partners could be Haven for Hope, where we get some clients to be able to go to, particular rehabs, the Center for Healthcare Services that has long-lasting mental health care, and just our volunteers and the churches and all the other work we do behind the scenes to make this work. Because the psychiatric care is embedded in all the services we offer at CAM.
Yeah. So you guys are really an emergency room for the homeless.
Yes, that's what I always call it. And for anyone, we're an emergency room.
Right.
We don't want your long-term care to be done in an emergency room, but that may have to occur for a while, which that does occur in our country with some people. But ultimately, you want to get them stabilized enough and get them to the specialists that they need.
Yeah. So your outreach team includes staff that you mentioned that have lived experience. They've been there and done this. How does that perspective shape the way clients are approached and supported?
It is really different. And we have a team of different ones have specialties. One of my team members, Jack, he went through rehab many times himself, and he has a really incredible story, and he knows the rehabs here. And when somebody's dealing with something like that, we often call on Jack. We have an individual who lost her children temporarily and had to go to rehab and was in Haven for Hope. So she understands what that's like. And so when the clients are acting scared or negative, they just sit with them and start telling their story. And the client can believe them. And then they're not off-put or scared or bothered by some of the things people say. I don't have lived experience, but I've lived down at CAM now for 16 years. And I would say I do too. I'm friends with most of our clients and interact and hear things and ask questions that most people wouldn't ask.
So this program helps clients apply for disability support, Medicaid, long-term treatment. Why are those systems so important for lasting stability?
Absolutely, because as I said to you before, some of the individuals we're serving may have long-term brain damage, injury, may be disabled in some way. And so we want them ultimately to be able to access some kind of housing service. So you got to qualify for those things. We want them to be able to have some kind of insurance that's stable, whether that's Medicaid or Medicare. And all of those systems are hard. It's not like it's easy to get disability. And actually, you can't get it without an official doctor's diagnosis.
Yes.
So even getting them to be a part of that so that we could get them in the system. And then there are other opportunities, job training opportunities, the Workforce Commission that focuses on people and helps them not only get resources they need, but help them have a higher quality of life. And we've got to figure out how to help them access those services. And it's hard. They can't do it by themselves. And we don't want to be there long lasting. Like I said, I pray that in 4 years, I won't know the same clients that we're currently serving and still having to provide their medication and the daily dosage, and that they're still living on the streets.
Yeah. So untreated mental illnesses create costs for hospitals, for the EMS, for law enforcement, nonprofits, taxpayers. I mean, how does investing in treatment ultimately benefit the entire community?
Absolutely. I have been really pleasantly surprised that the cost of doing this work is nothing compared to the cost of not doing it. Because like I have a budget of about $150,000 to $200,000, and we're spending as a city for 300 people to live on the streets, $25,000 to $30,000 a person times 300 people. I'm not very good at math, but that's a lot of money. And every single year. So we're talking about millions of dollars versus taking some time and getting someone stabilized now and getting them off the street into some kind of program. And then I am always very empathetic. I work with downtown and business improvements, and they're compassionate people, but they also care about their business. They care about people visiting the Alamo, which is just around the corner from me. The police officers care about their health and well-being. And if we have people that are acting outrageous, who are struggling, who get in fights with them, it's dangerous. We're having to call the police. We're having to have an ambulance pick somebody up, and they go to the hospital, and then the hospital doesn't know what to do with them. So we're all better off when people are well.
Well said. Well said. Do you think this program is one that could be used broadly by other parts of our country?
Absolutely. Now, one of the things that makes CAM a little bit different, and this could be harder for other parts of the country and even other nonprofits at CAM, because CAM is not doing this as a part of a government program, we're allowed to buy and do whatever we want. And so some of the things that really work for our clients, the government wouldn't allow you to buy. I might tell my little friend, I'll call him Tony, you've got to take your meds. And he'll say no. And then we're working on getting you housed. You know, I'm trying to think of different things and we might buy him a pack of cigarettes. Those are the kinds of things that we might purchase that don't sound very hospital-y or official, but they're needed, a relationship with them. When someone has to go to rehab and they all of a sudden realize that their clothing is dirty and they won't have what other people have, we're packing together 7 outfits, shoes, socks, underwear. They may have a nicotine addiction too, so we might be packing that too. We might pay for, maybe they do have an insurance plan, which some of our clients do, but they haven't met their deductible. And so we might pay a $700 or $800 fee in order for them to have the long-term care. So we're just able to be super nimble and do things quickly. But I do think all of that is replicable. You know, our goal is to share why it's been successful, how it's been successful, how it's been paid for. Most of our meds we're not paying for. We're getting them donated by the medical companies, and one shot can cost $1,500. So that part's been amazing. So there's a lot of things that can be replicated.
Well, so for listeners who may feel overwhelmed by the number of unhoused individuals in San Antonio, what would you want them to understand about the importance of compassion?
Well, one, I would want them to understand that they are individuals. There's lots of different reasons for each person, so I don't want to imply that there's a silver bullet. I think people keep thinking that, like round them all up and tell them they all have to go to rehab, arrest them all, or make them all do this mental health care. That's not the case. There are some clients that may not be as severe with a mental health issue that we might be able to help, but we don't have housing or shelter for them. So I would like people to understand that they are individuals. They're someone's son, daughter, mother, sister, brother. Most of the times when we get our clients stable, we start actually knowing their families. They're not just random. We can find them. They care about them. So I would just want them to understand that they are human beings that are loved by God and by us and others. And that I'm not asking, I want our audience to also know that I'm not asking them now to start going out under the bridges and streets and doing this work. That if they have that depth of compassion, then call an organization and do this kind of work with somebody. Don't just start doing it yourself.
Yeah. Dawn, thank you for joining us today. This has been an incredible conversation, and we're just grateful for what you do at Christian Assistance Ministries. And keep up the good work.
Thank you.
We're praying for you, and I'd like to pray for you now.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for Cam. Thank you for Dawn and her years of leadership and wisdom and service and sacrifice down on McCullough at 281. And so we just pray for Cam that it would just continue to thrive and do everything it needs to do to help those that are unhoused and just around their area to be all they need to be. And so we just pray for them. And we love you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Listeners, thank you for joining us today. We hope you've been encouraged by what you've heard, and you can catch our episodes anywhere you get your podcast or by visiting Baptist Health Foundation of San Antonio's website, bhfsa.org/Together for Good. We'll be back next week with another great conversation about health matters and the work of our nonprofits in our area. God bless and take care.
Thank you for tuning in today for Together for Good. We hope you've been encouraged, uplifted, and inspired. Until our next time together, may the Lord bless and keep you. And in all things, to God be the glory.